From playing a baseball mom to actually raising an MLB star. From starring in a movie about questioning reality to actually having a spiritual awakening on live TV. These are the 8 most shocking moments when movies predicted real life. What happens when Hollywood's made-up stories start coming true? When fiction becomes reality in ways nobody saw coming? Here are 8 times the movies got a little too real. Let's start with number 8. Back in 1994, a movie called Little Big League hit theaters. Just another family baseball film, or so everyone thought. The story follows a 12-year-old kid who inherits the Minnesota Twins from his grandfather and becomes the team's manager. Playing his supportive mom is actress Ashley Crowe, who spends the whole movie cheering from the stands, dealing with scouts and living the full baseball mom life. It was just another role for an up-and-coming actress. At least, that's how it seemed at the time. Fast forward to 2002, 8 years after the movie came out, Ashley Crowe gives birth to a son named Peter Crow-Armstrong. Nobody could have known that this baby would grow up to be something special on the baseball diamond. As a kid, Pete actually watched the movie his mom starred in, loving it not because she was in it, but because it was just a great baseball story. Then comes 2020, the MLB draft is happening and the New York Mets have the 19th pick. When they call out Pete Crow-Armstrong, the baseball world does a double take. The son of the actress who played a baseball mom in Little Big League is now a first-round draft pick. But the story doesn't end there. Pete gets traded to the Chicago Cubs, where he quickly becomes their top prospect. His defensive skills in center field are so impressive that scouts start calling him one of the best outfield prospects they've ever seen. The perfect ending to this story arrives in 2023. Pete gets the call every baseball player dreams of. He's heading to the major leagues. At just 21 years old, he steps onto the field wearing a Cubs uniform, while somewhere in the stands, his mom Ashley watches on. Only this time, she's not playing a role. She's living the exact life her character did all those years ago, being the proud mother of a real MLB player. The only difference? Her real-life baseball story turned out even better than the Hollywood version. Number 7 takes us to a galaxy far, far away. Well, sort of. Back in the early 2010s, Donald Glover was making people laugh as Tony Barnes on the TV show Community. In one memorable edition, his character casually wears an outfit strikingly similar to the one worn by Lando Calrissian. You know, the smooth-talking smuggler from Star Wars. At the time, it was just another costume choice for a show known for its pop culture references. But that's not where the story ends. In 2018, when Disney announced the cast for Solo, a Star Wars story, one name stood out. Donald Glover was chosen to play young Lando Calrissian, the exact character whose style he had channeled years earlier on Community. The internet went wild. Then, in another Community episode, Troy shows up wearing Spider-Man pajamas. Just a random superhero choice, right? Well, flash forward a few years and there's Donald Glover appearing in Spider-Man: Homecoming as Aaron Davis. For those who know their comics, Aaron Davis is the uncle of Miles Morales, an iconic Spider-Man character that Glover actually helped inspire. What makes this even more incredible, Joe Russo, who directed that Community episode, went on to direct several Marvel films, including Avengers: Endgame. See, back in 2010, there was a huge online campaign for Glover to play Spider-Man. While he didn't get that role, comic book writer Brian Michael Bendis saw the campaign and used Glover as visual inspiration for creating Miles Morales. So, not only did Community predict Glover's Star Wars future, but his Spider-Man scene somehow foreshadowed his eventual role in the Spider-Man universe. Even more amazingly, he went from wearing superhero-inspired outfits to actually helping inspire the creation of one of Marvel's most beloved new characters. It's like the costume department of Community had some kind of magical crystal ball that could see into Glover's future roles. 2 different costumes, 2 different major franchises, 2 predictions that came true. What are the odds of that happening? Speaking of superhero stories, let's talk about number 6, Robert Downey Jr. Now this one's different. This isn't just about playing a role, this is about living it. The parallels between RDJ's life and Tony Stark's story is so striking it's almost eerie. Let's rewind to the early days. In the late 1980s and early 90s, Robert Downey Jr. was Hollywood's golden boy. He earned an Oscar nomination for playing Charlie Chaplin, starred in major films, and even did a season on Saturday Night Live. He was the definition of young success. brilliant, charismatic, and seemingly unstoppable. Kind of like Tony Stark at the beginning of Iron Man, right?
I am Iron Man.
But then came the fall, a series of arrests, struggles with substance abuse, and a destructive spiral that led to actual jail time. By the early 2000s, he was considered unhireable in Hollywood. Insurance companies wouldn't cover him for movies. His career was effectively over. Studios wouldn't touch him, he had hit rock bottom. Just like Tony Stark after being captured in Afghanistan. But much like Tony Stark, he engineered his own comeback. He got sober in 2003 and slowly began rebuilding his career. When he landed the role of Tony Stark, many thought it was a risky choice, but Downey was actually living his own redemption. He went from being an industry liability to being the cornerstone of the biggest franchise in movie history. Just like Tony Stark went from weapons dealer to the leader of the Avengers. For number 5, we step into Oscar history. In 1999, Halle Berry took on the role of Dorothy Dandridge in a TV movie. Dandridge wasn't just any actress. She was the first black woman ever nominated for the Academy Award for Best Actress. Berry's portrayal was powerful, earning her a Golden Globe, but no one could have predicted what would happen next. Just 3 years later, Berry herself would make history at the Academy Awards for her role in Monsters Ball. She became the first black woman to win the Oscar for Best Actress, nearly 5 decades after Dandridge's nomination. The woman who played the Trailblazer became a Trailblazer herself in almost the exact same way. In her emotional acceptance speech, Berry declared that the door had been opened for actresses of color, echoing the legacy of the very woman she had portrayed. Number 4 takes us into territory that's almost too strange to believe. Jim Carrey starred in The Truman Show in 1998, playing a man who discovers his entire life is actually a television show, a man who questions reality itself and undergoes a profound awakening. In the film, Truman gradually realizes that nothing around him is authentic, not the people he thought were friends, not his wife, not even the world he inhabits. He questions whether his emotions, experiences, and connections were ever real or just elaborate fabrications for entertainment. The entire movie is about peeling back layers of illusion to discover a deeper truth. Just another role for the comedic actor, right? Well, not exactly. What makes this even more fascinating is just a year later, Carrey also portrayed Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon, a comedian famous for blurring the lines between performance and reality. During filming, Carrey disappeared so completely into Kaufman that he stayed in character even when the cameras weren't rolling, with crew members later recalling they rarely saw Jim during filming, only Andy. It seemed like dedicated method acting then, but maybe it was something more. Years later, Carrey starts appearing in interviews that leave people wondering if he's okay. But he's not having a breakdown. He's having an awakening eerily similar to Truman's. At a Fashion Week event, he tells a bewildered reporter,
Do you believe in icons? I don't believe in personalities. I don't believe that you exist, but there is a wonderful fragrance in the air. I don't believe in personalities. I believe that peace lies beyond personality, beyond invention and disguise. I believe that it's deeper than that. I believe we're a field of energy dancing for itself. And I don't care.
But Jim, you got really dressed up for the occasion. You look good.
No, I didn't.
Was that an
get dressed
accident?
up. I didn't get dressed up.
Who did?
There is no me.
There's no you.
No.
We're not here. This is a dream.
There's just things happening.
He begins making statements about how none of us really exist, how identity is just an illusion, how fame and ego are manufactured constructs, echoing Truman's journey of questioning what's authentic in a world of pretense. The man who played a character discovering the artificial nature of his reality starts experiencing a similar awakening in real life. Coincidence? Maybe. Creepy? Definitely. For number 3, we move to Broadway, where life imitated art in the most theatrical way possible. In the hit TV show Glee, Lea Michele's character Rachel Berry was obsessed with Barbra Streisand and dreaming of starring in Funny Girl on Broadway. Throughout the show's run, her character would perform songs from the musical, eventually landing the role in the show's fictional universe. Fast forward to 2022, and guess what happens? Lea Michele actually lands the role of Fanny Brice in the Broadway revival of Funny Girl, the same role her character dreamed of, the same role she sang about for years on television, the same role that defined her character's journey. And just like in Glee, the real-life casting came with its own drama and headlines, making the parallel even more striking. Number 2 takes us back to HBO's Entourage. In Season 2, they introduce a storyline about James Cameron directing an Aquaman movie. At the time, it seemed ridiculous. Aquaman was considered a joke in the superhero world, the guy who talks to fish. The show's creator, Doug Ellin, originally planned for the fictional Aquaman movie to be a massive flop. That's where things get interesting. James Cameron agreed to appear on the show, but with one condition. If he was going to be the fictional director of Aquaman, it had to be the biggest movie of all time. He wouldn't attach his name, even in fiction, to a failure. In the show, Aquaman breaks opening weekend records, making $116 million, with Vincent Chase playing the role and Mandy Moore as Aquaman. Fast forward to 2018, a real Aquaman movie finally hits theaters. Instead of James Cameron, we get James Wan. Instead of Vincent Chase, we get Jason Momoa. Instead of Mandy Moore, we get Amber Heard as Mira. And guess what? This joke superhero movie goes on to make over $1.1 billion worldwide, becoming one of DC's most successful films ever. The show accidentally predicted not just that an Aquaman movie would happen, but that it would be a massive box office success. They even got the record-breaking part right. While the real Aquaman didn't break opening weekend records, it did become the highest-grossing DC movie of all time. What a crazy one! And finally, number 1 brings us to the world of professional sports, where fiction and reality collided in the most spectacular ways. In HBO's Ballers, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson played Spencer Strasmore, an ex-NFL player who becomes a successful businessman and eventually buys a football team, taking over an entire league. A pretty ambitious storyline, right? Well, in 2020, Johnson, along with his business partners, purchased the XFL for $15 million. That's right, the same actor who played a character who bought a football league ended up buying a real football league. The parallel is so exact it's almost unbelievable. The man who portrayed a character taking over professional football actually took over professional football. These 8 coincidences show us that when fiction becomes reality, truth becomes stranger than fiction. And in Hollywood, anything is possible. Remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell if you enjoyed this video. They're only going to get better. See you next time!